I feel like I've been being called to fast for a while. I needed this thing outside of me so much so that it was like a little bit crazy, the attachment to food. So the way I can almost explain it of what it felt like was like after 24 hours, I still felt full from the day before. Like I didn't feel like I needed food to sustain myself, which is interesting because in a normal day, I'm hungry 24/7. And what it kind of showed me was like, the hunger isn't real hunger. It's a hormone fluctuation that shows up and makes me feel I need to reach for something outside of me. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I haven't recorded a solo episode in a minute where I've just been able to speak and talk and kind of just flow with it. So I actually was feeling called to talk a little bit about my fasting journey that I just went on. So I fasted for 48 hours and I wanted to kind of talk about the things that I personally realized by doing that, and then also some like facts, I guess you could say, of the benefits of that, because I feel like I'm getting a lot of questions in my DMs already. And the benefits, you guys, that I personally felt, I was like, I have to talk about this and tell people about this and encourage all of you to go on a fasting journey also. So I wanted to speak a little bit about what I learned. I feel like I've been being called to fast for a while. Like I have felt this pull that I needed to listen to, and I haven't listened to it. I'm like, to be quite honest, I've been 100% afraid that I'm going to be too hungry. And essentially the story is like, I'm going to be hungry and I'm going to die. So talk about survival mode in that sense and how much I feel this reliance and need for food, which of course we need food. But what I mean is like psychologically and mindset wise, how much I felt like I needed this thing outside of me so much so that it was like a little bit crazy, the attachment to food. Does this make sense? So what I mean by that is like I would think about fasting, and this is just story time for a second. When I was like maybe 13 or something, they did this event at the school for raising awareness around hunger. And so they were doing a 24-hour fast and a sleepover. And I bailed out and I made excuses for why I didn't want to go. But ultimately it was because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to do it. I was afraid that I'd get hungry and I wouldn't know what to do. And so that was still a fear, like a deep, deep fear within me. When we want to talk about personal growth and evolution and all the things, there's so many layers to what you will do. Like, yes, there's layers of like ending up alone or like fear of abandonment and all that kind of stuff in relationship. But like a very real one for me was fear of hunger, fear of going hungry and literally equating it to death. So that was huge for me, overcoming that in that 48-hour fast and understanding like once I made it through the first 24 hours, I was like, okay, that wasn't actually that hard. And of course, yes, prepping food for my kids and like being around food and wanting coffee and the temptation of wanting food and all of that stuff was there. But it's like, because I made the decision, it was just like, no, I'm not eating. I'm doing a fast. I feel like my body was on my side. It was like, okay, we hear you. Like, we're not going to be eating for the next 48 hours. Well, originally it was going to be 72. And so it was like it was on, I can't explain it. It was like my body was working with me to help me, support me, and like actually getting this thing done. So overall, it was just honestly very interesting and caused a lot of introspection, I guess you could say, of like me having the space to really tune into my own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and what it was bringing up for me. And I found it really valuable. And so I wanted to share a couple of my like things that I noticed for myself. And then I'll jump into the actual key, like more scientific benefits of what it's good for, which I'm going to read from my phone. But essentially, some of the things that I found was that number one, like I had zero need to talk. Like I didn't feel the need to talk to anyone, call anyone, get on my stories. Like I didn't feel this pull and this need to be outward. Like it really put me in a state of introspection, just connecting to myself. And honestly brought on this level of peace and calmness that I can't really explain. And so I was able to see why in different cultures they do fasting when it comes to connecting with God and all of these things. It was like, I understand why this is such a high value. And even like Jesus talks about it in the Gospel of the Essenes. I think it's called like the peace gospel, peace of Essenes, whatever. I can't remember the title of the book. But in that book, it talks about fasting and enemas and all of these things of like cleansing our temple and this body. And I was able to really understand it. So the way I can almost explain it of what it felt like was like after 24 hours, I still felt full from the day before. And like I didn't feel like I needed food to sustain myself, which is interesting because in a normal day, I'm hungry 24/7. And what it kind of showed me was like the hunger isn't real hunger. It's a hormone fluctuation. Ghrelin is what that hunger hormone is that shows up and makes me feel I need to reach for something outside of me. And it just made me realize like how often am I coping with almost as a distraction tool to grab a latte or grab food or grab this or grab that. Like I noticed that when I wasn't eating or drinking and all I had was water, I didn't have the brain fog of like thinking about food. Like if I'm being really honest, throughout my day, I think about food a lot still. Obviously, I did like bodybuilding, or maybe it's not obvious. Maybe you guys don't know this, but like I competed in bodybuilding. I did all the nutrition stuff. I have a background in food and nutrition. So there's a background around food. And I know like I struggled with binge eating disorder. I had all of these things that I've dealt with in my life when it comes to food. And so I'm not nearly as obsessive as I used to be, but there is a degree of like thinking about the next meal or thinking about what I'm going to eat next, or like the moment of boredom, I want to snack, I want to eat, I want to do these things. And it's like, how much are we utilizing food as a like coping mechanism? The same way that we may doom scroll, the same way we may call someone the second that we feel a little ounce of like uncomfiness or loneliness or whatever, the same way that we could, use a substance. I just was able to very clearly see how food is 100% the most abused substance on the planet, in the sense that we should be so deeply grateful and connected to our food. And what I was witnessing is how much I mindlessly eat or mindlessly make meals because I think I should based on the timing. And I'm not actually connected to the food and the nourishment it's giving me. And don't have like so often I'm like, I'm eating, but I'm not holding an intentional presence and gratitude for the food that I'm putting in my body to nourish myself. And this may sound like woo-woo-y, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to complete this thought correctly, but it almost made me think like I had this realization when I was sharing at Awaken, in one of my breathwork journeys, that it was like, why would I ever let a man enter my body, my temple, if they haven't shown me that they care for my heart, right? So it's like, if we understand that with sex and we really care and understand that, and we're like, okay, yeah, where our bodies are sacred, why would it be any different with food? But we're self-harming ourselves every time that we eat this food that doesn't nourish our body, that doesn't serve us, that bogs us down, that is hard for us to digest, that is full of processed sugars and shit that like literally causes cancer in our bodies when overdone. We unknowingly and like unconsciously are doing it to ourselves. And so it was almost like, okay, you can say that like, okay, you're going to, guard yourself, protect yourself from another, but like, have you built up the relationship to honor, guard, and protect yourself with you? Like when you're alone and the foods that you're eating. And obviously this is not like, don't ever eat a cookie again, because I ate a cookie last night immediately after my fast. Like I was at an event and there was cookies. But what was interesting is I didn't have the addictive pull. And if anyone struggled with food addiction in some degree, you know what I'm talking about, where you take, let's say you have a chip and it's like, I need more and I need more and I need more. And then same thing with cookies or sugar. It's like, I need more, I need more, I need more. And the same thing happens with drugs or alcohol or whatever. And so it was like, same thing with shopping, like whatever your thing is, it just showed me how clearly so many people use food, and it's so accepted that we're using it as an addiction, honestly, and a substance that we're abusing. I don't even know if I completed my thought, but ultimately it's like, what is your relationship like with yourself? And your relationship with food is like massive. And Danny Morrell talks about this, the 3 energies of human mastery being food, like diet, food, health, sex, relationships, and then money and business. Okay. So like the 3 being food, sex, and money. And it just made me realize like I've come such a long way in my health journey, my food journey, my relationship to food. But I feel like this was like that next level of deep connection with myself and like mastering food, if this makes sense. And so for me, this was like profound. Okay. The realizations I had in the 48 hours, and so wildly impactful for me because I feel like I just accomplished and overcame a fear I've literally been carrying since I was a teen when I opted out of that event because I was so afraid of going hungry. And so I'm like, how much of my life, and honestly, like when I get on a plane or I'm about to go somewhere where I don't know if there's going to be food, this fear is present in my everyday life. And I'm like, I am not living in a state of survival. Like we have such a surplus and abundance of food. There is no need to be carrying that fear of hunger. And it almost showed me like in the moments where ghrelin rose and I felt hungry, where I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like I can hold myself in this and I don't actually need anything outside of me. I don't need that food. I don't need that coffee. I don't need my fizz. I don't need a latte. I like a greens or whatever, or like my protein, whatever my like day-to-day things are. I was like, I actually don't need anything. And like, do you know the power that that gives you as a human being to understand like you're actually okay without food, the thing that we need to survive, like you just within you and your body. And it was like, oh, I get why this is such a spiritual practice and why people do it. Because I was like, that's the ultimate thing when you realize like you literally don't need anything outside yourself, even at like the knowingness of food. Okay. Is this making sense? Anyways, it was just, I felt so good that I know I'm going to do it again. And ultimately, I ended up having coffee both days with some milk at the 24 and like 40-hour mark. So technically, I guess if that broke my fast, I did two 24-hour fasts together. I ended up making like 52 hours or something like that before I had food. And ultimately, I decided to have food because I was going to go the full 3 days. But then I was like, okay, if the benefits of the 3-day water fast is now negated because I had a little bit of calories with the milk, then I was like, I don't know if there would be value in going another day. So I'm just going to eat dinner and like start eating again, and then I'll go into a fast another time. So some of the other benefits that I found and like what it showed me. So I already said this sort of, but like it showed me what a food addicted culture we were. And not that food is bad, but how desensitized and disconnected we are from its true purpose to nourish our body, and how much we live as a society, especially in North America, in gluttony. And like, I'm not 100% equated with the Bible or anything like that, but I know that it talks about one of the sins being a glutton. And I was like, okay, I don't believe in sin, right? Like as like a negative, but there's things that we can do, I feel, to ourselves that don't allow us to live in like the fullness and wholeness of who we truly are meant to be and our like best selves. And so I was like, yeah, when we're in gluttony, it's like, or being a glutton, it's like you're disconnected from yourself. You're disconnected from your true source of power and the power that you should be connected to, which is source. And so I'm like, if we're so like out here like zombies, just like eating and not thinking about it, like we're so unaware of what we are doing to our own bodies. And it's like, that's something that is 100% in your control when you bring awareness to it. So that, it also showed me that because I had less energy to expend, I was so careful where I gave my energy. So because I knew I was like, I had certain things I had to do during the day to take care of my kids, to make them food, to get them to activities, whatever. I was so mindful not to waste my own precious energy on anything that didn't feel good in that moment. Does this make sense? And so it's like if I'm eating or I'm drinking coffee or I have fizz or like something to give me a kick and a boost, then I'm able to just power through. I'm able to just do all the things and keep going and like negate how I'm truly feeling. I don't even know if that's the right English word, whatever. But it's like I was able to see how much I do that in my everyday life for others, where like because I only had so much energy to kind of like give away and give out, I didn't feel like talking to anybody I didn't need to. So if I didn't have a call booked, I wasn't talking to anyone. I was so freaking wildly present in my day to day. And even walking. So like I was like, okay, do I feel like I have enough energy for a walk? I knew I wasn't going to work out. I couldn't sweat anyways because of the face thing that I had done. I basically had like Venus Viva done. It's like a laser, but not like high frequency machine on your face. I don't know. It's supposed to help with fine lines, wrinkles, whatever. So we're giving it a shot. Anyways, I had that done and so I couldn't sweat. So I was like, this is the perfect time to just like start a fast right now because I know I can't sweat. So it's like, I'm not going to have the excuse that I worked out and now I'm hungry or whatever. And so I was like, I'll just like go for light walks in nature and see how I feel. And in doing that, I could feel 20 minutes in, when I was feeling like a little bit weak, that it was like, okay, this is enough for me today. And I just had this like deep, deep connection with my own awareness and body of like what was enough for me today. And I know we've talked about this on a previous episode. I think it was Azaria, the episode I did with her, where she was like, what's enough for me today? It's like such a good question to ask yourself. But it made me feel like, okay, like that walk was enough for me today. And then if I had extra energy, I would use it. But I was so mindful of where I was spending my energy and what felt draining and what felt energizing, which I don't know if I could have had that realization without taking out food and caffeine, like overdoses of caffeine, to be honest. Okay. So I was super in tune with my body and gentle with myself, not to push through just because I could, and was really mindful of the energy it took to sustain me throughout the day. And then I also felt, I already said this, but I felt so peaceful and calm and only did what was necessary. And I honestly felt so present with myself. Like I felt this overwhelming presence that I can't really explain. Like I just had this, there was nothing else but what was right in front of me or like what I was doing in that moment. It didn't have me like taken out, because this is just a random example. But like, okay, if I'm driving the boys to Ninja, for example, and I'm feeling tired, I'm thinking about what could I have to give me energy? Should I go get a coffee? Should I go make a fist? Should I go have a bar? Like if I'm feeling hungry while I'm driving, it's like, oh, I should grab a bar and I should eat right now. It's like so impulsive, the actions that I take, where when I didn't have any of that, I didn't have a choice to think about that except for to be with myself and how I was truly feeling in that moment and then letting it kind of move through and pass through. Another thing, like, yes, I felt hungry, but I realized it passed pretty quickly. Like the waves of hunger would come and it was like, as long as I had water, I was honestly fine. And then I did notice too, where I felt super hungry. It was like in those moments where I felt really hungry, it was typically because I was around food and there was a surplus or food available, even though I didn't like need to eat. Does this make sense? So it's like, had I not been around like having to prepare food with my hands, like preparing food for my kids, making them a plate, getting them snacks all day, getting them food, like if I didn't have to do that, I don't think I would have even really felt that hungry. I don't know if hunger would have really shown up. So that was really interesting and showed me that all these moments where hunger shows up just because food's around doesn't actually mean I'm truly hungry and I need to eat. And it was like, whoa, because I usually, when I went into like intuitive eating all the way, it was very much like feed your body when you feel hungry. And I've probably been overdoing it because ghrelin spikes all the fucking time for myself. And so it's like, I just eat because I'm hungry and I should just eat. Where I'm like, now I feel this comfort in sitting with the hunger for a moment and not feeling like I need to satisfy it right away. Does this make sense? And so I feel like there's so much value even in that one thing, that how much we like feel an urge for something, but you don't need to actually act on it immediately. So the same way, if you're trying to abstain from, I don't know, the cookie because you know it's bad for you, I don't know, or like you're abstaining from drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever the thing is for you, in the moment you get the urge, it's that impulse. Is impulsivity a word? The impulse to react and like need it versus sitting with the feeling that's making you feel the pull to need and grab something. Does this make sense? So in not having the food, I was able to go, okay, I'm feeling this like want for food, but you can't have it anyway. So do you really want the food? And then it would pass. And I was like, imagine how many times we have an impulse that like if you just sat with it for a moment and let it move through, it doesn't actually need, you don't need to act on it. You just can kind of like let it move away. I don't know. It was just very powerful in showing me our mind and how much our body may send impulses and rushes, because that's ultimately what it is. It's like our body's chasing a feeling or a comfort, and your comfort could look different. Like mine for sure is food. And I know in a certain season it was wine or alcohol, or like I would get the hit and it was like, I need a glass of wine. And if it was there, I would have it. But typically it's like that actually passes if you just sit with it for a moment. So whatever your thing is that you feel reactive to impulsively go grab or go do or need, if you sit with it, you're like, oh, I actually don't need it. And I'm okay here. Like I'm okay with me without anything. And it just really taught me like the strength that we have that I was honestly, I feel like semi unaware of lately. It was just like, oh, I just need to eat and I need food and no. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, okay, I was talking about that already. Yeah, it was also showing me like how much we eat too much and too often. I don't know if we should be. I saw this video about Ayurvedic medicine too, where it was like whoever taught us to be eating like 3 meals, 3 snacks all day, we were never designed and created to have a constant abundance and surplus of food going through our body. And so it's like if your body never gets a chance to digest, like go past digestion. So it's like if we're constantly in this state of needing to digest food because we're constantly eating, our body doesn't have time to go into like a repair cycle of anything else happening in our body. It's constantly just digesting food, which means it can't like do a flush or go through our system and flush out toxins and harmful chemicals and things that are not really serving us, or inflammation in different cells, or like dead cells that need to get, replenished and pass through. It can't do that because it's constantly digesting food. So they've even found that like you eating all the time leads to premature aging because your body doesn't have time to like go through its normal state when it's not digesting food. So it's like creating the space for your body to not always have to digest food is actually really, really valuable to your overall health, longevity, and all the things. And then I just wanted to say before I go into like actual benefits, just that I honestly woke up today feeling so grateful for food. Like the ability to eat. I have this new, just like deep appreciation for it where I'm like, oh, like I get to eat these tomatoes. Like how beautiful and like nourishing, and like, oh, this carrot and this thing. I just feel this deep gratitude for food. And even yesterday when I was like not eating yet and I was going through the cupboard making the kids food, where I was like, wow, how amazing is like this thing? Like I can't explain it other than a deep, deep gratitude and connection to food. And so much so that it's like today, all I wanted was like alive, nourishing foods that are alive and vibrant and thriving. And just, it made me almost create this like deep, I haven't talked about the relationship intensive yet. Oh my God, I need to record a podcast on that. But in the relationship intensive, in my journey, it showed me like the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve and all this stuff. Okay. And how our body is like the Garden of Eden. Like, yes, it's outside of us with earth, but it's also cultivated and created within. Oh my gosh, this is probably why I finally did the fast. Anyways, and it was showing me like how beautiful and amazing and like butterflies and like this garden that's within our like this torso area, right? And how I just felt this like deep, I keep saying like because I'm trying to complete a thought when I don't have a full thought, but this appreciation for my body in another way where I was like, I just want to feed you like good, amazing, alive, nourishing foods that will be like so good for you. And I can't explain it other than in the 2 days of not eating, I could see the aliveness in food and the foods that are not alive and not of the earth, if that makes sense. Like you can see that it's like, ew, this is like a 3D world creation and we're eating it, but it's not food. And I know this here, but I got like a spiritual, like eye-opening view of it internally by like abstaining from food. And I think what really kicked it off was being at the food court yesterday, right when I was hitting like 48 hours and my kids were hungry and I was like, want pizza? And I looked around and I was like, if I got to eat right now, I don't want anything from any of these places because it's not food. Like it is, but it isn't. Like there's so much added nastiness to it that I was like, all I want is like pure, whole food items that are just in their pure, real, raw state. Like give me fruit and a carrot and a tomato. And I went to the not farmer's market, but like the local harvest today. And I grabbed cucumbers and tomatoes and carrots and some potatoes and chicken. And even the potatoes and chicken, I was like, I don't know. I might go like tons of raw food, like raw, fresh fruit and food. And I was like, I don't even know if we need that much protein. How much dense foods we eat. I'm like, why do we eat such dense foods? Like we should be eating light, airy, nourishing foods. I don't know. It just was amazing. So I want to encourage you guys to do this if you feel ready. You may not feel ready, but I want to encourage you to plan out a fast. I know it matters based on your cycle. So I don't know the exact timings, but I am about 5 days into my cycle, about to hit ovulation. And so for me, I was like, I felt really great doing it and positive and uplifted and all that. I know the first couple days of your period, actually, when you're really slow in digestion, can be a good time to do a fast too. And so a 3-day water fast, maybe not, but like a 24-hour, no problem. And once you get through 24, you're like, could I do 48? Could I do 3? Could I do 5? Like I honestly feel like I could do 3, no problem now. And so I'm going to pre-plan that to do that. But ultimately, like if you want to understand a deeper connection to your body, if you want to understand a deeper connection to food, if you want to alleviate, like I'm not kidding. I feel like if you have deep obsessions and addictions to sugar or salt or chips or whatever, doing this like clears it out. It's like all of that. It gives you like this reset. And if you didn't already know this, like your microbiome, when you feed it, creates this internal clock within your body. So let's say you eat at 10 o'clock at night. The next day you're going to feel hungry at 10 o'clock at night because your body's getting used to when you feed it. So by resetting myself, I'm like, I feel like I don't even know if I need food. Like I'm going to feel hungry later, obviously. But I'm like, I just feel like we really don't need it as much as we think we do. And I just would encourage you, if you have any level of addiction to food, like doing a 48 to 3 day 72-hour fast could be the thing that helps kick the addiction, abstaining from it. The same way that eventually if you kicked alcohol or you kicked drugs, like you need to abstain from it. I think you need to teach yourself that you can abstain from food. And the best way, rather than like a diet, because this is what I find is like I've dieted, I've tried to have willpower and control and all that with food, but it's like this gave me a reset that I just have an appreciation for real food, that I don't need to try not to eat the bad stuff. It's like I already know that I like to nourish my body, and that's a thing that I've always liked, but there is a degree of like, oh, I'm trying to be healthy, so I shouldn't have that, where I feel like that's gone. Like I'm just like, no, I get to choose the foods I want to eat and put in this temple, in this body of mine that I deeply respect. What do I want to choose to nourish myself with? I've known this and I've talked about this, but this gave me like a newfound perspective on it, that anyone who struggles with food and weight, I think you could like deeply benefit from. And it could depend on where you're at on your journey, all the things. Okay. So if you want to have more presence, mindfulness, and be more drawn to nourishing foods rather than artificial foods, do this, because now like only fresh food is calling me, and I think it's really powerful. So, okay. So some of the benefits, one sec, had to reply to a text really quick because I'm supposed to do a live and I'm going to finish this first. So some of the benefits, fasting for 3 days can lead to benefits like improved insulin sensitivity, enhanced fat burning, and increased autophagy, which is the body's natural process of cleansing out old or damaged cells. So that's the reason I wanted to do the 3-day. I was just feeling called to go on a water fast. I don't really have a reason or understanding why. I didn't see any information online about it. Daniel ended up doing it, my ex, and like I was like, hey, you know what? I've been wanting to do this too. And so like you doing it made me realize like I should just do it. What am I waiting for? And I did it more so because I wanted to see how my body felt, and I felt like it needed a digestive reset. But then I was like, this would be really valuable too, to give my body the time to process, because I've never not eaten food. In 30 years, I've never not eaten food. So improved insulin sensitivity. So fasting for 3 days can lead to a decrease in circulating insulin and glucose, potentially improving insulin sensitivity and reducing the risk of insulin resistance. So this is good when we're like overdose with sugar 24/7. Our insulin is it's not, this is why people end up with diabetes, right? Like your body ends up not being able to even process or see the spikes and the differences. And we want to have like very sensitive insulin. What is it? Yeah, just like we want insulin sensitivity. We don't want to be like, oh, there's always insulin, we can't respond to it. It's like, no, you want insulin sensitivity. So to create that is actually a good thing. During a fast, the body shifts from using glucose, which is food. Any carbohydrates and foods that we're eating converts to glucose, which is sugar, which our body uses as fuel. And so it when it doesn't have that, it switches to using fat for energy, which most of us have extra fat and like we'll be fine. Like you can drink water, your body could eat some of your fat and like you'll be fine. And so it can lead to fat burning. Increased autophagy just means fasting triggers autophagy, a cellular process where the body cleans out damaged or old cells, potentially promoting cellular repair and regeneration. So basically what happens is it kind of like flushes through and it starts eating the weak, bad cells that are like, they could be cancer cells, they could be all these things. And so there's a ton of research now showing, and like lots of people who have healed and cured themselves of cancer by starving it of food. And so if you didn't already know this, cancer cells thrive on sugar. So when you feed it white bread or like different sugars like that, your cancer cells are thriving. You're feeding those cells. Where if you starve it of that, it has no choice, but they die because they're weak. And so there's a lot of places that will do like 30-day water fast, and they do these don't do that alone, but like they're supported water fast to help cure your, like not cure, I guess you should say, like flush your body of all of the harmful toxic cells that are already within your body that are damaged and cancerous. So it's really great for that and giving your body that chance to like regenerate, repair, and all of that good stuff. Which I also feel like we could all benefit from, because it's like part of the reason we even have those disease and damaged cells. Like our body doesn't even have space to get rid of them because we're always freaking eating. So creating that. And then it can give your body an immune reset. So some research suggests that prolonged fasting can induce the body to clean out old immune cells and stimulate the production of new ones, potentially boosting the immune system. I love how it always has to say potentially, because we're using Dr. Google on some of these facts. And God forbid we could ever say that like doing these things could actually be good for us. Improved cognitive function. So during a fast, the brain can switch to using ketone bodies for fuel, which may enhance brain function and cognitive performance. I felt kind of like the first day, but by day 2, I felt pretty much myself, like pretty normal. Yeah. And then electrolyte imbalance. So obviously that could be something that you want to incorporate, but I'm like 2 days, you guys, like you're fine. You don't need anything. I was going to drink electrolytes. I did last night, but I didn't on the 2 days. I was kind of like, let's just see how I feel. If I would have felt weak, if I would have been in the heat, of course I would have added electrolytes, but I was inside almost for 2 days, not doing a lot. And I felt totally fine. Okay. And how autophagy works. I feel like this is kind of cool. So basically it occurs in the cytoplasm or fluid inside a cell. It breaks down the old parts of the cells and recycles them for new parts. And it helps destroy bacteria and viruses that cause infection. So autophagy can be triggered by fasting, exercising, or restricting calorie intake. But the fasting, like that's actually valuable in some degree. Obviously, there's a state where this can go too far. You fasted too much and now your body's basically like eating itself. You can lose a ton of weight. It's not good. But in a certain degree where then you nourish yourself again, I feel like it can be beneficial in a small amount of intention for it. It can also limit the development of conditions like cancer, type 2 diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. And can help eat cancer cells. It can also impact the body's immune response to help fight against viruses, bacteria, and cancer cells. And autophagy is essential for survival, development, and homeostasis, and all the things. So yeah, ultimately that is it. I'm going to end it here. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, but really to understand that like if you follow any sort of religion, I was like, I understand. We had a guy doing our roof. He's like, it's Ramadan, I'm fasting. And I was like, I get it now. Like I understand the benefit and the value of it. I understand when Jesus was talking about this in the Gospel of the Essenes of Peace or whatever that book was that I was talking about. He talks about this at the beginning, like treating your body like a temple, getting rid of all the crap that's in it, like gunk that you're pulling out. And obviously in plant medicine ceremonies and things like that, I have seen my body getting rid of gunk and all the stuff that's energetic and emotional. But this was like a deep cleansing of all the stuff that's within me. And I know parasite cleanses are all the craze and rave right now. But I would just say like some of those I think are in your system. I don't know. I just have this feeling that like maybe we're not meant to get rid of every living organism that's within us. Maybe some are intentional. We have a gut that is alive, and maybe some of those worms, that's just what lives in there and they're actually valuable and important. I don't know, just a thought. But I think completely cleansing it, it's kind of to me like I wonder if it will link like an antibiotic. Does this make sense? So like antibiotics kill out the good and the bad. I sometimes wonder if all of these parasite cleanses are also going to kill out the good and the bad. So be mindful with them and maybe try something like a fast. So like the dead stuff, the bad stuff, the icky things inside of you don't have food to feed on, like hopefully they die off. I don't know, just a thought. And obviously there's certain people that need the parasite cleanse, but I would say try fast. And the last two things I want to say is I used Arbonne skin tint today. And I know I need a better camera, but I feel like I don't have foundation on. This is a skin tint. I feel like my makeup looks quite glowy and good. So just saying, the skin tint is bomb. And then I'm also wearing like concealer, like all other Arbonne makeup. And then another thing that I wanted to say, if you guys have not already seen, like I've been using my walking pad lately. I love it. It's getting sunny outside, so I'll definitely be outside more. But the other day, the boys were like, I don't want to go outside. No. They were just like tired. And so I put the walking pad on my deck to like walk outside while I was just like going through messages. And I have to say, having it to just quickly flip down and be able to like get through text or do something so that there's a little bit of movement and I'm not so stagnant and sitting has been game changer. So I will link the walking pad that I've been using in the show notes, but for real, like get yourself a walking pad if you don't already have one, because the benefit of just how much we're always sitting, like we need to be moving and there's so much value in that. And so anyways, I just wanted to say I've been loving having my walking pad. I am loving the makeup. It's so nice. So you guys can look on my Instagram link. Both are linked in my bio, but I will put them in the show notes too because I love it and it feels so good. And just thank you for being here. If you haven't already subscribed and hit like or subscribe or whatever you're watching on, whether this is Apple or Spotify or YouTube, please do that because I'm pretty sure I finally just hit the thing where maybe I can start getting paid by Spotify. I think I was looking through last night and I'm like, I think I'm there. But it would be so cool because I do this 100% for free. And I don't do ads and I don't do anything aside from like I just mentioned those two things. But those are two things that I've actually really been loving. And I wanted to just throw them in there because I think they could also benefit you. And what else was I going to say? I think that's it. Anyways, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to me talk about my fasting journey. And I hope that this encourages you to potentially abstain from food for a day or two because you may realize you're way more powerful than you think. And it may give you a clarity and a power over yourself that you realize like you're way more powerful than you think. And even food can't control you. And fears like dying of starvation and hunger in a world like this, we do not need to carry those anymore. So let them go. Thank you guys for being here. I love you guys and see you in the next episode.